human was forced to marry an alien woman, 33 years older. No one expected what happened. Adam Steele cursed under his breath as the alien guards shoved him forward. The cold metal floor of the Altarian detention center bit into his knees, his wrists raw from the energy cuffs binding them behind his back. Reconnaissance Specialist Adam Steele of Earth announced the tall, blue-skinned official standing before him. You stand accused of unauthorized entry into restricted Altarian territory, espionage against the sovereign Altarian Dominion, and violation of interspecies Treaty Code 5591. Adam kept his face neutral despite the panic rising in his chest. The mission had gone sideways the moment his stealth craft malfunctioned near Altair 4's atmosphere. What should have been a simple data-gathering operation had turned into a diplomatic nightmare. The penalty, continued the official, his voice echoing in the vast chamber, is death by neural dissolution? Or, quote, the alien's silver eyes narrowed. Permanent servitude to the Dominion. Go to hell, Adam spat, earning another rough shove from the guards. The official's thin lips curled in what might have been amusement. Your Earth bravado is noted, human. However, your choice has consequences beyond yourself. Your death would violate the Terran-Altarian non-aggression pact. Your people's colonies on Proxima Centauri would be vulnerable. Adam's blood ran cold. This wasn't just about him anymore. There is perhaps a third option. The voice came from behind the official, low, melodic, yet commanding. The guards straightened immediately, and even the official stepped aside with deference. A female Altarian emerged from the shadows. Unlike the others, whose skin ranged from pale blue to turquoise, hers had a distinctive silvery sheen that marked her as nobility. Her white hair was pulled back in a severe ponytail that emphasized her high cheekbones and pointed ears. The dark blue, nearly black uniform she wore bore insignia Adam recognized from intelligence briefings. A general, and not just any general. General Valera, the official acknowledged with a bow. Valera. The name hit Adam like a punch to the gut. The infamous Valera, who had led the Altarian forces during the Orion conflict. The strategist who had outmaneuvered Earth's best military minds. She approached Adam, her movements fluid and precise. Up close, he could see the fine lines around her eyes. The subtle markers of age that humans might miss if they didn't know what to look for. Intelligence had her at 63. Ancient by human standards, but merely mature for her long-lived species. I invoke the right of clemency, she announced, her gaze never leaving Adam's face. The official looked stunned. General, this is highly irregular. I am well aware of our laws, Administrator Krell, she cut him off. The right of clemency allows any citizen of appropriate rank to claim responsibility for an offender through formal union. I claim this human. Adam's jaw dropped. What the hell does that mean? Valara's expression remained impassive. It means, human, that I am offering to marry you under Altarian law. This would spare your life and prevent interspecies conflict. Marry? Adam couldn't keep the disgust from his voice. Lady, I don't even know you. You know enough, she replied coolly. I am offering you life instead of death. Your alternative is neural dissolution or slavery. Choose. Adam looked around the chamber. At the armed guards, at the smug administrator, at the cold, calculating eyes of General Valera. He was trapped, cornered like an animal. What kind of marriage? He asked through gritted teeth. A legal one, she answered. You would live in my household. You would be afforded certain protections under Altarian law. You would not be a prisoner, but neither would you be free to leave the planet. And what do you get out of this arrangement? Something flickered across her face. Too quick to identify. That is my concern, not yours. Administrator Krell cleared his throat. The human must decide now, General. The execution chamber is prepared. Adam closed his eyes. He thought of Earth, of his family, of the colonies that might suffer if he chose death. He thought of the life he'd had, the freedom, the adventures, the future he'd planned. All gone now. Fine, he said finally, the word tasting like ash in his mouth. I accept. Valera nodded once. Remove his restraints. He is now under my protection. As the energy cuffs deactivated, Adam rubbed his wrists, glaring at the woman who had just become his wife. She was old enough to be his mother. Hell, his grandmother by human standards. Her face was a mask of cool authority, her posture rigid and unyielding. This wasn't a marriage. This was another form of prison. "Come," she said, turning on her heel. "We leave immediately for my estate." Adam followed, his shoulders squared, despite his defeat. He might be trapped in this farce of a marriage to an alien woman, 33 years his senior, but he'd be damned if he'd show weakness. Little did he know that this forced union would change both their lives in ways neither could possibly imagine. The journey to Valara's estate took them away from the gleaming spires of the Altarian capital and into the rugged highlands. Adam watched through the transport's viewport as urban sprawl gave way to strange, twisting forests of silver-barked trees with luminescent foliage. When they finally arrived, Adam was surprised. He'd expected an ostentatious mansion befitting a high-ranking general. Instead, Valara's home was a modest structure of stone and some translucent material that caught the light of Altair's setting sun, nestled against a cliff face overlooking a vast valley. "This will be your home now," Valara said, leading him inside. Her voice remained formal, devoid of emotion. "You will find your quarters adequately furnished for human needs." The interior was sparse but elegant. Curved walls, minimalist furniture, and what appeared to be living plants integrated into the architecture. Despite its alien design, there was something almost lonely about the place. "Where are your servants?" Adam asked. "Your staff? Security?" "I have none," she replied simply. "I prefer solitude." Adam frowned. "A general of your rank, living alone on the outskirts? That doesn't add up." Valara's silver blue eyes flashed. "You would do well to remember your position, human. You are here because I chose to save your life. That does not entitle you to question me." She showed him to a room, surprisingly comfortable with a bed sized for a human frame, and even some Earth-style furnishings. Before leaving, she paused at the doorway. "The environmental controls are there." She indicated a panel on the wall. "Adjust them to your comfort. There is a nutrition station in the common area. I have programmed it with human-compatible options." "How considerate of you," Adam replied, unable to keep the bitterness from his voice. "Planning to keep your pet human well-fed?" For a moment, something flickered across her face. Not anger, but something more complex. Then it was gone, replaced by her usual mask of indifference. "Rest," and she said, "Tomorrow we will establish the parameters of our arrangement." After she left, Adam explored his new prison. The room was comfortable but secure. No obvious weaknesses in the walls or ceiling. The window looked out over a sheer drop of several hundred meters. The door wasn't locked, which surprised him. He ventured out, moving silently through the house. He found Valara in what appeared to be a study, surrounded by holographic displays showing military formations and what looked like personnel files. She didn't notice him immediately, and in that unguarded moment, her face showed a weariness that aged her beyond her years. Adam retreated before she spotted him and continued his exploration. The house was larger than it appeared from outside, with several wings and chambers. Most were as minimalist as the entrance. But one room caught his attention. A chamber filled with artifacts that were distinctly non-Altarian. Some he recognized as human in origin. Curious, he examined them. A vintage Earth compass, books printed on actual paper, a collection of old Earth music recordings. Why would an Altarian general collect human artifacts? By nightfall, Adam had made his decision. The house might not have obvious security, but there had to be some kind of perimeter defense. Still, he'd rather die trying to escape than live as a trophy husband to an alien warlord. He waited until the house fell silent. The alien sun had set, replaced by 2 moons that bathed the landscape in eerie purple light. Adam slipped out of his room, making his way to what he'd identified as a rear exit. To his surprise, it opened without resistance. Too easy, he thought, but pressed on anyway. The night air hit him like a physical force, colder than he'd expected, carrying strange scents that made his head swim. He pushed forward, heading for the tree line where the silver forest began. He'd made it perhaps 50 meters when the ground beneath his feet began to shift. What he'd taken for solid earth suddenly liquefied, becoming a viscous substance that clung to his boots. Each step became harder than the last until he was effectively immobilized. "The reactive soil responds to unfamiliar biological signatures," came Valara's voice from behind him. A defense mechanism, not a trap, though the distinction matters little to you at the moment. Adam turned as best he could to face her. She stood on a path of stable ground, wearing a simple robe, her white hair loose around her shoulders. Without her uniform and severe hairstyle, she looked different. Still alien, still older, but somehow more approachable. Did you really think I would not anticipate an escape attempt? She asked. Worth a shot, Adam replied, trying to maintain his dignity while sinking slowly into the alien soil. To his surprise, Valara approached, stepping onto the reactive soil which remained solid beneath her feet. She extended a hand. Come. Before the cold affects you, human physiology is ill-suited to Altarian nights. Adam hesitated, then took her hand. Her skin was warmer than he expected, almost feverish by human standards. She pulled him free with surprising strength. Why aren't you angry? He asked as they walked back to the house. Anger would be illogical. You acted as any captured being would. Inside, she led him not back to his room but to a central chamber where a heating element glowed softly in the center. Sit, she said, gesturing to a cushioned platform. You need warmth. Adam obeyed, too cold to argue. Valara disappeared briefly, returning with a steaming cup of something that smelled vaguely like cinnamon. Drink. It will help regulate your temperature. He took a cautious sip. It wasn't unpleasant, sweet and spicy with an herbal aftertaste. Why do you live alone? He asked suddenly. Why are there no other Altarians here? Valara was silent for so long that Adam thought she wouldn't answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter than he'd heard before. Because they fear me, she said simply, or they hate me, sometimes both. You're a war hero. I've read the intelligence briefs. I am a necessary evil, she corrected. I won battles they needed won, using methods they prefer not to acknowledge. For the first time, Adam saw past the cold exterior to something raw underneath. Isolation, pride, perhaps even pain. So this marriage, he ventured, it wasn't just about saving me from execution, was it? Her silver blue eyes met his. No, she admitted, it was not. Morning on Altair 4 brought a strange, copper-tinted light that filtered through Adam's window. He'd slept poorly, his mind replaying Valara's words. It was not just about saving you from execution. What game was she playing? He found her in an open courtyard at the center of the house, performing what appeared to be martial exercises. Her movements were fluid yet precise, like water flowing through predetermined channels. Without her uniform, dressed in a simple gray tunic and leggings, she seemed less imposing, though no less alien. She finished a complex sequence before acknowledging him. You slept inadequately, she observed. How could you tell? Human physiology is transparent. Your capillaries dilate beneath the eyes when fatigued. Adam leaned against a pillar. So you've studied humans? I have studied many species. She picked up a towel, dabbing at her neck where a faint sheen of moisture had gathered. It is necessary for effective command. And what have you learned about us? Valara considered him with those unsettling silver blue eyes. That you are contradictory creatures, physically weaker than many species, yet inexplicably resilient. Technologically primitive, yet advancing at rates that alarm the Galactic Council. Emotional to a fault, yet capable of rationality that surprises even Altarian logicians. Is that a compliment or an insult? Neither. It is observation. She gestured to a low table where a simple breakfast awaited. Join me. Adam hesitated, then sat across from her. The food was unfamiliar but not unpleasant, something like fruit with the consistency of cooked grain. I have a proposal, Valara said after they had eaten in silence for several minutes. Another marriage? Adam quipped. The corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. An exchange. I will teach you what you need to survive on Altair 4. Our customs, defenses, social structures. In return, you will share your knowledge of human tactics and culture. Adam set down his utensil. Why would you want that? Your people clearly have the technological advantage. Technology is not everything, she replied. During the Orion conflict, your Earth forces were outgunned, outmanned, and surrounded. By all logical calculations, you should have been annihilated within days. Yet we held for 3 months and forced a stalemate, Adam finished. Valara nodded. It defied all the strategic models. I wish to understand how. Adam studied her. There was something she wasn't saying, some deeper motivation behind this exchange. What's the catch? No catch, simply an opportunity for mutual benefit. You are here indefinitely. Would you prefer to remain ignorant of your new world? Put that way, he didn't have much choice. Fine, but I have conditions. I want access to communications, to contact Earth and let them know I'm alive. Impossible, she said immediately. The Dominion monitors all outgoing transmissions. Your presence here is politically sensitive. Then I want freedom to move around the property without soil trying to eat me. Granted, I will program the defense systems to recognize your biometric signature. And I want the truth, Adam added, about why you really married me. Vilara's expression hardened. That is not part of our exchange. Then no deal. They stared at each other across the table, a silent battle of wills. Finally, Vilara inclined her head slightly. Very well. One truth for one truth. A fair exchange. You first, Adam insisted. Vilara set down her cup with deliberate care. I married you because I needed a human perspective that was not filtered through Dominion intelligence. Our leadership has miscalculations regarding your species. These could lead to costly errors. You're using me to spy on humanity? Adam felt his anger rising. I am using you to understand humanity, she corrected. There is a difference. Now your truth. Why did you accept this marriage when death might have been the cleaner choice for a soldier? The question caught him off guard. He'd expected something about Earth's defenses or military capabilities. He paused, considering a lie, then decided on honesty. I'm not ready to die. And I thought maybe eventually I could escape. Honesty, she noted with approval, rare in a captive. I'm not a captive. I'm a husband, Adam replied with bitter sarcasm. Indeed. She rose from the table. Our first lesson begins now. Come. She led him to a room he hadn't explored the previous night, a chamber with walls that seemed to shift and change, displaying three-dimensional maps and diagrams. This is a teaching space, she explained. Today, I will show you the reactive defenses of Altera 4, not just my estate, but the planet itself. In return, you will explain how Earth forces maintained supply lines during the Orion blockade. For the next several hours, they exchanged information. Vilara was a precise, thorough teacher, explaining the living biological defenses that permeated Altarian architecture and landscaping. Adam found himself reluctantly impressed by her intelligence and clarity. When his turn came, he was guarded at first, but soon found himself engaged in explaining the improvised tactics that had kept Earth's colonies supplied during the conflict. We called it the Mosquito Protocol, he explained, using the room's holographic interface to illustrate. Instead of large supply ships, we used thousands of micro-vessels, each carrying minimal cargo. Most got through because they weren't worth the energy to target. Inefficient, Vilara observed. But effective, Adam countered. Your blockade was designed to stop warships and freighters, not swarms of delivery drones. A strategy born of desperation, she noted, yet elegant in its simplicity. Was that admiration in her voice? Adam couldn't be sure, but for a moment the cold general seemed genuinely intrigued by human ingenuity. As they concluded the lesson, Vilara paused at the doorway. You are an adequate instructor, Adam Steele. Coming from her, he suspected this was high praise. You're not so bad yourself, General. Vilara, she corrected. In this house, between us, I am simply Vilara. It was a small concession, but somehow significant. As she left, Adam realized with surprise that he'd spent hours in her company without once thinking about escape. Their knowledge exchange continued over the next several days. Adam found himself grudgingly impressed by Vilara's tactical mind and her willingness to share information about Altarian defenses. For her part, she seemed genuinely fascinated by human adaptability and what she called their creative improvisation under pressure. On the fifth day, Vilara announced a change to their routine. The Lunar Convergence Festival begins tomorrow, she said as they concluded their morning session. As my spouse, you will be expected to attend? Adam raised an eyebrow. I thought you lived in isolation. Now suddenly we're going to a party? It is not a party, she corrected, her tone suggesting the word offended her. It is a sacred tradition marking the alignment of our 3 moons. Attendance is mandatory for all citizens of rank. And if I refuse, it would be noted. Questions would be asked about the legitimacy of our union. Adam understood the implication. Their arrangement would be scrutinized, potentially endangering them both. Fine, he sighed. What do I need to know to avoid causing an interstellar incident? Much, she replied. We will begin your cultural instruction immediately. She led him to a different room, one he hadn't explored before. Inside was what appeared to be a wardrobe chamber, with various Altarian garments displayed on illuminated panels. You will need appropriate attire, she explained, activating a scanning beam that swept over his body. The festival has strict protocols regarding appearance. As the scanner worked, Adam noticed something on a shelf behind Valara, a small metal object that looked distinctly human in design. Curious, he moved closer. Is that a pocket watch? Valara stiffened almost imperceptibly. It is an Earth timepiece, yes. Adam picked it up, turning it over in his hand. The silver case was tarnished but intact, and when he opened it, the mechanism still ticked. But what froze him in place was the inscription inside the cover. To Jonathan Steele, for valor beyond duty, Earth Defense Force, 2187. This belonged to my grandfather, Adam whispered, looking up at Valara with shock. How the hell do you have it? For the first time since he'd met her, Valara appeared genuinely discomposed. She took a step back, her silver blue eyes widening slightly. You are Jonathan Steele's descendant? His grandson. He disappeared during a reconnaissance mission to the Altair system 30 years ago. His ship was reported lost with all hands. Adam's fingers tightened around the watch. What is this doing here? Did you kill him? Anger flashed across Valara's face, real emotion breaking through her composed exterior. I did not kill him. I saved him. She moved to a wall panel and pressed her palm against it. A hidden compartment slid open, revealing a collection of Earth artifacts far more extensive than Adam had glimpsed before. Photos, books, even what appeared to be military insignia from Earth's defense forces. 30 years ago, I commanded a border patrol that intercepted a damaged Earth vessel, she said, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. The pilot was injured but alive. By Dominion law, I should have executed him as an intruder. But you didn't, Adam said, realization dawning. No! I brought him here, healed him. He stayed for nearly a year while I arranged his covert return to Earth space. She touched one of the photos. A much younger Valara standing beside a man Adam instantly recognized from family albums. He gave me that watch as gratitude. Adam's mind reeled. That's why you have all these human things. That's why you saved me. When I saw your name in the detention report, I suspected a connection. The genetic scan confirmed it. She met his eyes directly. I owe Jonathan Steele a debt. I have repaid it by saving his bloodline. The revelation hung between them, altering everything Adam thought he knew about his situation. Valara hadn't just randomly selected him. There was history here, a connection that predated their meeting. My grandfather never spoke about what happened during that missing year, Adam said slowly. He came back changed, according to my father. More thoughtful about alien cultures, less willing to accept the military's view that all non-humans were potential threats. He was a remarkable man, Valara said. Adaptable, intelligent. He taught me much about humanity. There was something in her voice when she spoke of his grandfather, a warmth that contradicted everything he'd assumed about her cold nature. Were you and he... Adam left the question hanging. Valara's skin flushed a deeper blue. Our species are compatible in many ways, though such unions are forbidden by Dominion law. The implication was clear. Adam found himself strangely affected by this revelation, not disgusted as he might have expected, but intrigued. He looked at Valara with new eyes, seeing past the age difference and alien features to the woman who had risked everything to save his grandfather, and now him. The festival tomorrow, he said abruptly, changing the subject. What exactly happens at this thing? Valara seemed grateful for the shift. It is primarily ceremonial. There will be displays of light art, traditional music, ritual dancing. As my spouse, you will be expected to participate in the bond dance. I'm not much of a dancer, Adam admitted. It is not complex. It merely requires, she hesitated, physical synchronicity between partners. The way she said it made Adam suspect there was more to this dance than simple movement. The thought sent an unexpected heat through him. Then I guess you'd better teach me, he said, his voice dropping lower. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Adam saw Valara not as his captor or an alien general, but as a woman, one with depths and desires he was only beginning to understand. The Lunar Convergence Festival was held in the central plaza of the Alterian capital, a vast open space surrounded by towering spires that seemed to pierce the copper-hued sky. Adam felt every eye on him as he and Valara arrived, his discomfort only partially masked by the elaborate Alterian formal attire she had provided. A fitted suit of midnight blue material that shifted colors subtly with his movements, accented with silver threading that mimicked the patterns on Valara's own ceremonial dress. "Remember what I taught you," Valara murmured as they approached the gathering. "Speak only when addressed directly. Keep your responses brief. Do not initiate physical contact with anyone but me." "I know," Adam replied under his breath. "I'm not an idiot." "No," she agreed, surprising him. "You are remarkably adaptable, like your grandfather." The comparison sent an unexpected warmth through him. After yesterday's revelation about Jonathan Steele, Adam had spent the night reevaluating everything he thought he knew about Valara. The woman who had saved his grandfather, and possibly loved him, was nothing like the cold general he'd first encountered. A hush fell over the nearest group of Alterians as they approached. Adam recognized Administrator Krell among them, his thin lips pressed into a disapproving line. "General Valara," Krell greeted with a stiff bow. "How unexpected to see you at the Convergence, and with your human companion." "Husband," Valara corrected firmly. As recognized by ancient law, Krell's gaze slid to Adam, cold and calculating. "Indeed. How fortunate for him that you invoked such an obscure statute." "The law is the law, Administrator," Valara replied, her tone leaving no room for argument. "Now, if you'll excuse us, the first alignment is about to begin." She guided Adam away with a light touch to his lower back. The contact, even through layers of clothing, sent a jolt through him that he couldn't entirely attribute to nervousness. "He suspects something," Adam whispered. "Krell has always opposed my methods," Valara replied. "He believes Alterians should maintain complete separation from other species. Yet here you are, married to a human. Twice, apparently." Valara's steps faltered slightly. "Your grandfather and I were never formally bonded. It would have been impossible then. But now, circumstances change, laws evolve, and sometimes—" She met his eyes briefly. "Sometimes personal convictions outweigh societal expectations." Before Adam could respond, music filled the air, a haunting, resonant sound, unlike anything he'd heard on Earth. The crowd moved toward the center of the plaza where three beams of light, silver, copper, and deep purple, intersected above a circular platform. "The first alignment," Valara explained. "It represents the beginning of the lunar convergence. We must join the honoring circle." She led him to where other couples were forming a ring around the platform. Adam noticed immediately that they were the object of intense scrutiny. Whispers and pointed looks followed them as they took their place in the circle. "They're not happy I'm here," he observed. "Many are not. Others are merely curious. Humans are rare on Altair 4. "And human Alterian couples?" "Rarer still," she admitted. The music shifted, becoming more rhythmic. The couples around them began to move in synchronized patterns, not quite dancing as Adam understood it, but a formal, almost ritualistic series of movements. "Follow my lead," Valara instructed, taking his hands. Her touch was warm, her fingers surprisingly soft for a military commander. Adam mirrored her movements, grateful for the practice they'd done the previous evening. The steps weren't complex, but they required a precise synchronization between partners that felt strangely intimate. As they moved, Adam became aware of a subtle change in the atmosphere. The three beams of light overhead intensified, and with them, A sensation like static electricity seemed to build between him and Valara. Each time their hands met or their bodies aligned in the pattern of the dance, the feeling strengthened. "What's happening?" he whispered during a moment when their faces drew close. "The convergence amplifies bioenergetic field," she replied, her voice lower than usual. "It is part of the ritual." Adam suddenly understood why she'd been reluctant to explain the full nature of the bond dance. This wasn't just a ceremonial movement. It was creating a genuine physical response between them. Each touch now carried an almost electric charge, and he found himself increasingly aware of Valara not as an alien general, but as a woman, her scent, the grace of her movements, the unexpected softness of her skin against his. The music intensified, and with it, the dance became more intricate. Partners moved closer, their bodies aligning in ways that mimicked the convergence of the moons overhead. Adam found his heart racing as Valara's form pressed against his, her silver blue eyes locked with his own. "This is more than just a dance, isn't it?" he managed to ask as they turned together. "The convergence celebrates union in all forms," she replied, her voice husky, cosmic, spiritual, physical. The implication was clear, and Adam was surprised to find himself responding not with revulsion, but with a growing desire. The age difference, the alien nature of her, none of it seemed to matter in this moment. There was only the connection between them, strengthening with each synchronized movement. As the dance reached its crescendo, Adam noticed that other couples were leaving the circle, moving to more private alcoves around the plaza's perimeter. The meaning was unmistakable. "Valara," he began, uncertain how to proceed. She met his gaze, and for the first time, he saw naked emotion in her eyes. Desire, yes, but also vulnerability. "The ritual does not require completion," she said softly. "We can withdraw." Adam considered their options. They were surrounded by Altarians already suspicious of their union. Withdrawing might confirm those suspicions, but more than that, he realized with surprise, he didn't want to withdraw. "What if I don't want to?" he asked, his voice low. Valara's eyes widened slightly, the silvery blue darkening. "Then we would honor the ritual as tradition demands?" Around them, the remaining couples were moving in perfect synchronicity, the energy between them palpable. Administrator Krell watched from the edge of the plaza, his suspicious gaze never leaving them. Adam made his decision. Drawing Valara closer, he aligned his movements perfectly with hers, embracing the ritual fully. The connection between them surged, and he saw surprise and then unmistakable pleasure cross her features. "Your quarters or mine?" he whispered against her ear. Her answering smile transformed her face, making her look decades younger. "Mine are closer." As they slipped away from the plaza, Adam caught Krell's furious expression. Let him suspect, Adam thought. This was no longer about maintaining appearances. Something had changed between him and Valara. Something neither of them had expected when this forced marriage began. Adam woke to the copper light of Altair's sun streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, he was disoriented until memories of the previous night flooded back. The lunar convergence, the bond dance, and what followed when he and Valara returned to her quarters. He turned to find her watching him, her silver blue eyes thoughtful. Her white hair spilled loose across the pillow, making her look softer, younger somehow. "You're staring," he said with a small smile. "Observing," she corrected. "There appears to be a physiological change." Adam frowned. "What do you mean?" She reached out, tracing a finger along his forearm where faint, silvery patterns had appeared, patterns that matched the natural markings on her own blue skin. "The convergence bond," she explained. "It sometimes creates a bioenergetic resonance between partners, but it's extremely rare between different species. I've never seen it manifest physically before." Adam examined the delicate patterns. They didn't hurt or itch. In fact, he wouldn't have noticed them if she hadn't pointed them out. "Is it dangerous?" "No," she said, her voice softer than usual. "But it is significant. It suggests a compatibility between us that defies conventional Altarian science." Adam felt an unexpected surge of pride at that. Humans defying alien expectations. It was practically a species trait at this point. "So last night wasn't just the ritual affecting us?" he asked. Valara's skin flushed a deeper blue. The convergence may have amplified what was already present, but it cannot create what does not exist. The admission hung between them, an acknowledgement that whatever had happened wasn't simply alien biology or ritual magic. There was something real between them, something neither had anticipated when their arrangement began. Before Adam could respond, an urgent chime sounded throughout the room. Valara was instantly alert, all softness vanishing as she rose and activated a communication panel. "General Valara," she answered, her voice once again the cold commander's tone he'd first encountered. "General," came a formal voice, "your presence is required immediately at Central Command. By order of the High Council." "Understood, I will arrive within the hour." As the communication ended, she turned to Adam, her expression grave. "Something has happened." "Krell?" Adam guessed. "Possibly. Get dressed. You're coming with me." "Is that wise? If they're already suspicious?" "If they're questioning my loyalty, leaving you unguarded would be a tactical error," she said, already donning her formal uniform. "Besides, the bond markings, they may provide an unexpected advantage." Adam didn't fully understand, but he dressed quickly in the formal attire from the previous night. As they prepared to leave, Valara surprised him by taking his face in her hands and pressing her forehead to his, an Altarian gesture of intimacy he recognized from their cultural lessons. "Whatever happened," she said quietly, "know that I do not regret what has grown between us." The journey to Central Command was tense and silent. They arrived to find the massive structure surrounded by additional security forces. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with barely contained hostility as they were escorted to the High Council chamber. Administrator Krell stood before a semicircle of senior Altarian officials, a triumphant gleam in his eyes as Adam and Valara entered. General," Krell said with mock deference, "how good of you to join us. And with your human companion." "My husband," Valara corrected firmly, "as recognized under ancient law." "Yes, about that," Krell replied, activating a holographic display. "We've been reviewing your unusual arrangement. It seems the marriage was conducted with remarkable haste immediately following the humans' capture. One might almost suspect ulterior motives." "The law allows for the right of clemency," Valara stated. "My motives are irrelevant." "Are they?" Krell turned to the council. "Esteemed members, I submit that General Valara has been compromised. This is not her first inappropriate contact with humans. There is evidence she harbored another Earth agent 30 years ago, one Jonathan Steele." Adam felt Valara stiffen beside him, but her face remained impassive. "Furthermore," Krell continued, "I believe her tactical decisions during the Orion conflict were influenced by this human contamination. She deliberately avoided strategies that would have resulted in total human defeat." One of the council members leaned forward. "These are serious accusations, Administrator. What evidence supports them?" "A full investigation of her residence has revealed numerous Earth artifacts," Krell replied smugly, "and more damning, medical scans from last night's convergence show an unprecedented bioenergetic bond has formed between her and this human. Proof of contamination." Adam had heard enough. Stepping forward despite Valara's warning hand on his arm, he addressed the council directly. "With respect, I'd like to speak." The council members exchanged surprised glances. It was clearly unusual for a non-Altarian to address them directly. "The human may speak," the central figure finally said. "You call it contamination. I call it evolution," Adam began. "Yes, General Valara saved my grandfather 30 years ago. Yes, she chose to marry me rather than execute me. But have you asked yourselves why?" He rolled up his sleeve, displaying the silver markings that had appeared overnight. "This bond isn't contamination. It's proof of compatibility. Proof that humans and Altarians aren't as different as you've been led to believe." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Adam pressed his advantage. "Administrator Krell claims the general was compromised during the Orion conflict. But consider this, her strategies prevented a total war that would have decimated both our species. She saw what you couldn't. That cooperation offers more than conquest ever could." "Preposterous," Krell sputtered. "Humans are primitive, emotional creatures." "Exactly," and Adam interrupted. "We're emotional. We're adaptable. We think outside your rigid structures. And that terrifies you, doesn't it, Administrator?" Not because we're a threat, but because we represent change. The council chamber had fallen silent. Even Valara was watching him with something like wonder in her eyes. I propose a demonstration, Adam continued boldly, a tactical simulation. Pit your best strategists against a human approach. See for yourselves what General Valara already knows, that human thinking can complement Altarian precision, not contaminate it. The council members conferred quietly among themselves. Finally, the central figure spoke. An interesting proposal. General Valara, do you support this human's suggestion? Valara stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Adam. I do, Counselor, and I volunteer to lead the demonstration personally. Very well, the counselor decided. The simulation will commence immediately. Administrator Krell, you will lead the opposition force. Krell's face contorted with fury, but he bowed stiffly. As the council commands. As they were led toward the simulation chambers, Valara leaned close to Adam. That was either brilliantly strategic or foolishly reckless, she whispered. Maybe both, Adam replied with a grin. Isn't that what you find fascinating about humans? For the first time since he'd known her, Valara laughed, a genuine warm sound that transformed her face. Indeed, perhaps that's why I keep marrying them. The tactical simulation chamber was a vast spherical room, lined with neural interface technology that created immersive battle scenarios indistinguishable from reality. Adam had seen similar systems on Earth, but the Altarian version was generations more advanced. The parameters are simple, explained the chief technician. Each team will command a fleet defending a strategic position against an overwhelming enemy force. Victory is achieved by either destroying the enemy or maintaining your position for the duration of the simulation. Adam and Valara stood on one side of the chamber, while Krell and his selected officers occupied the other. The High Council members observed from an elevated platform. This is madness, Von Krell sneered. Allowing a human to participate in our military simulations is a breach of security protocols. The Council has authorized it, Valara replied calmly. Unless you fear the challenge, Administrator. Krell's face darkened. Prepare to be humiliated, General. And you, human, prepare to see what real Altarian strategy looks like. As the technicians fitted them with neural interfaces, Valara leaned close to Adam. Trust your instincts, she whispered. That's what I've always admired about humans, your ability to improvise when logic fails. The simulation activated, and suddenly they were standing on the bridge of an Altarian warship. A tactical display showed their fleet. 12 vessels arranged in a defensive formation around a space station. In the distance, enemy ships approached, nearly 3 times their number. Standard Altarian doctrine would have us form a perimeter defense, Valara explained, concentrating firepower to maximize efficiency. But they'll just overwhelm us with number, Adam observed. We need something they won't expect. He studied the tactical display, noticing a nearby asteroid field. What if we hide half our ships in those asteroids? When they commit to attacking our visible forces, we hit them from behind. Valara considered this. An ambush, unorthodox by Altarian standards, but potentially effective. They implemented the strategy, and as the battle commenced, Adam noticed something strange. The enemy tactics seemed specifically designed to counter their approach, as if they knew what was coming. Krell's cheating, Adam realized. He's monitoring our communications. Valara's eyes narrowed. Then we'll communicate differently. She touched the silver markings on Adam's arm, then her own. The convergence bond, it might allow for more than just physical compatibility. Adam understood immediately. He closed his eyes, focusing on the connection between them, that strange resonance that had formed during the lunar convergence. To his amazement, he could sense Valara's thoughts, not as words but as tactical impressions. They began coordinating without speaking, adjusting their strategy moment by moment. Their ships moved in perfect synchronicity, executing maneuvers that combined Altarian precision with human unpredictability. On the other side of the simulation, Krell grew increasingly frustrated as his advantage disappeared. Impossible, he shouted. They can't be communicating. We're jamming all frequencies. The council members leaned forward, clearly intrigued by the unexpected development. As the simulation progressed, Adam sensed something changing in the parameters. The enemy ships were becoming more powerful, their weapons more destructive than the simulation had initially specified. "He's altering the program," Adam communicated through their bond, "trying to force our defeat." Then we'll change the game entirely," Valara responded. Through their mental link, they devised a strategy no Altarian would ever consider, sacrificing half their fleet in a kamikaze run that appeared suicidal, but created a chain reaction in the asteroid field. The resulting explosion engulfed the enemy armada, leaving Krell's forces in disarray. When the simulation ended, the chamber returned to normal. The council members were on their feet, their normally impassive faces showing clear astonishment. "Unprecedented," the lead counselor declared. "General Valara and the human have demonstrated remarkable tactical synergy." "They cheated," Krell protested. "They used some form of unauthorized communication." "The only one who cheated was you, Administrator," Adam replied calmly. "You altered the simulation parameters during the exercise. The system logs will confirm it." The chief technician quickly verified Adam's claim, and Krell's face contorted with rage. "This proves nothing. The human is a contaminant. Their entire species is a galactic infection that must be contained." "Enough," the lead counselor's voice echoed through the chamber. "Administrator Krell, you are relieved of duty pending investigation into your conduct." As security officers escorted the fuming Krell away, the counselor turned to Adam and Valara. "What we witnessed today cannot be ignored. The bond between you, this ability to communicate and coordinate beyond our understanding, it suggests possibilities we have not considered." Valara stepped forward. "Counselors, for decades I have believed that Altair's isolation has limited our potential. My experience with humans, first with Jonathan Steele and now with Adam, has shown me that our species can complement each other in ways that strengthen us both." "A compelling argument," the counselor acknowledged. "What would you propose, General?" "A diplomatic mission to Earth," she replied without hesitation, "with Adam as my partner, liaison. It's time we explored formal relations beyond our limited military interactions." The council conferred briefly before the leader spoke again. "Your proposal has merit, General. It will be considered. In the meantime, your marriage to the human Adam Steele is formally recognized and sanctioned by the High Council. The charges against you are dismissed." As they left Central Command, Adam felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "So I'm no longer a prisoner or a political convenience?" "You never were," Valara replied softly. "Not to me. Not after I began to know you." Back at Valara's estate, their home now, Adam realized, they stood on the balcony overlooking the Silver Forest, the 3 moons of Altair still visible in the daytime sky. "When I was captured," Adam said, "I thought my life was over. I was furious at being forced to marry an alien woman 33 years older than me. I never imagined that you would find compatibility, respect, perhaps even love." Valara's voice held a warmth that still surprised him. "All of that," Adam agreed, tracing the silver patterns on his arm that matched hers. "No one could have expected what happened between us." "Humans," Valara said with affectionate exasperation, "always defying expectations. It's what makes your species so remarkable. Is that why you've married 2 of us now?" Adam teased. Valara laughed, a sound he'd grown to cherish. "Perhaps I have a type." She grew serious, taking his hands in hers. "The diplomatic mission to Earth, it won't be easy. There will be resistance on both sides." "Then they'll just have to get used to it," Adam replied confidently. "If a human reconnaissance specialist and an Altarian general can find common ground, there's hope for our species." "More than common ground," Valara murmured, drawing closer. "A new beginning." As they sealed this promise with a kiss, Adam reflected on the strange journey that had brought him here. What had begun as a forced marriage to an alien woman significantly older than himself had transformed into something neither of them could have predicted. A bond that transcended age, species, and the cold calculations of politics. In the end, it wasn't Altarian technology or human resourcefulness alone that had changed everything. It was the unexpected capacity of both species to connect, to adapt, and to grow together. And in that realization lay the true promise of their future.